Look at your hand right now. If you aren't holding your phone, it's likely within arm's reach, resting on a table, slipping into your pocket, or hovering just at the edge of your peripheral vision. It feels harmless, like a loyal assistant waiting to connect you to the world, but the truth is far more sinister because that little slab of glass and aluminum is slowly, systematically dismantling your future. Every single day, you are trading your long-term potential, your focus, your mental health, and your deepest ambitions for brief, superficial rushes of dopamine delivered in 15-second increments. We like to call it a habit or a modern necessity, but let's call it what it actually is: a highly engineered, multi-billion-dollar addiction designed to keep you trapped in a state of perpetual distraction. You are not using the technology is using you, and if you do not wake up to this reality today, the version of yourself you always dreamed of becoming will simply cease to exist. Think about how your day begins. For the vast majority of people, the very first action taken upon waking up, before even opening both eyes fully or stretching their limbs, is reaching for the smartphone. You turn off the alarm, and instead of stepping into the day with intention, you immediately submerge your brain in a digital flood of emails, news headlines, social media updates, and text messages. Before your feet have even touched the cold floor, your brain has been hijacked. You have allowed the external world, with all its chaos, negativity, and demands, to dictate your internal state. Neurologically speaking, this is a disaster. When you first wake up, your brain transitions from sleep waves into alpha and theta brainwave states, which are highly pliable, creative, and relaxed states of mind. By immediately flooding your mind with digital inputs, you bypass this crucial, peaceful transition and force your brain straight into a high beta state of stress and anxiety. You are essentially training your mind from the very first minute of the day to be reactive rather than proactive, setting a baseline of fractured attention that persists for the next 16 hours. This morning routine is just the entry point into a deeper, daily cycle of cognitive fragmentation. As you move through your day, whether you are trying to study, work on a business, create art, or simply engage in a conversation, your phone acts as a constant psychological gravity well. Every few minutes, an invisible pull tugs at your consciousness, whispering that there might be something new waiting for you on the screen. A notification dings, a screen lights up, or even worse, you experience a phantom vibration, feeling your phone shake in your pocket when nothing actually happened. This constant state of alertness is known as continuous partial attention. You are never fully present anywhere. If you are trying to write a report but your phone is sitting next to your laptop, your brain is actively expending energy just to ignore it. Studies in cognitive psychology have shown that merely having a smartphone visible on your desk, even if it is turned completely off and face down, significantly reduces your available cognitive capacity and lowers your performance on complex tasks. Your brain has to work overtime just to resist the urge to pick it up, leaving you with less mental bandwidth to solve problems, think critically, or innovate. This constant interruption destroys your ability to enter what psychologists call the flow state. Flow is that magical zone of deep work where time seems to vanish, your self-consciousness disappears, and your productivity skyrockets. It is the state of mind where all great art, groundbreaking code, successful business strategies, and profound learning happen. To reach this state, the human brain requires roughly 20 minutes of uninterrupted, intense focus on a single task. But if you check your phone just once every 15 minutes, you never, ever reach flow. You spend your entire life skimming the surface of your potential, operating in a state of cognitive residue. Cognitive residue means that when you switch from a task to check a quick text message and then switch back to the task, a part of your attention remains fixed on that text message for several minutes afterward. Multiply this by 50 or 100 times a day, and your mind becomes a chaotic, cluttered workspace where nothing of true quality can ever be built. To understand why this is happening, we have to look behind the screen and examine the brilliant, manipulative neuroscience that governs these devices. The software engineers and behavioral scientists in Silicon Valley did not build these platforms by accident. They built them using the exact same psychological principles that make slot machines in Las Vegas so terrifyingly addictive. At the heart of this system is a neurotransmitter called dopamine. For a long time, people believed dopamine was the molecule of pleasure, but neuroscience has revealed that dopamine is actually the molecule of anticipation, motivation, and craving. It is the chemical that drives us to search, to explore, and to seek rewards. In the evolutionary past, dopamine was essential for survival. It motivated our ancestors to forage for berries, hunt for game, and seek out mates. When they found what they were looking for, they got a hit of dopamine, which hardwired the behavior into their brains so they would repeat it. Modern technology has weaponized this ancient survival mechanism against us through a concept known as variable reward schedules. If a slot machine paid out the exact same amount of money every single time you pulled the lever, you would quickly get bored and walk away. The addiction is born because the reward is unpredictable. You pull the lever, lose, 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 win a little, lose, win big, lose. The absolute uncertainty of the next outcome causes dopamine levels in the brain to spike dramatically. This is precisely how social media apps operate. Every time you open an app and swipe down to refresh your feed, you are pulling the physical lever of a digital slot machine. You don't know what you're going to get. Will it be a boring advertisement? A political post that makes you angry? A message from a friend? Or a viral video that makes you laugh? The sheer unpredictability keeps your brain hooked, constantly craving the next refresh, desperate for that hit of validation or novelty. Over time, this constant artificial flooding of dopamine completely recalibrates your brain's reward threshold. Your brain is a highly adaptive organ that always seeks a state of balance, or homeostasis. When it is constantly bombarded with unnaturally high levels of dopamine from instant notifications, hyper-stimulating videos, and endless scrolling, it protects itself by down-regulating its own dopamine receptors. It essentially becomes numb. This means that everyday activities that require patience, sustained effort, and delayed gratification begin to feel incredibly boring, painful, and unappealing. Reading a book, working on a difficult project, listening to a lecture, or sitting quietly with your own thoughts becomes unbearable because they do not offer the instantaneous, effortless dopamine rewards that your phone provides. You find yourself trapped in a state of chronic boredom whenever you are away from your screen, unable to tolerate even a single moment of quiet or inactivity. Think about what happens when you stand in a line at a grocery store, wait for an elevator, or sit at a red light for 60 seconds. Instead of just existing in that moment, observing your surroundings, or letting your mind wander creatively, you immediately pull out your phone. By doing this, you are effectively eliminating boredom from your life, which sounds like a positive thing on the surface, but is actually a profound tragedy. Boredom is the ultimate evolutionary incubator for human creativity and self-reflection. When the human brain is understimulated, it activates a network called the default mode network. This network is responsible for connecting seemingly unrelated ideas, processing emotional experiences, solving complex life problems, and fostering deep creative insights. When you eliminate boredom by constantly feeding your brain cheap digital junk food, you completely shut down the default mode network. You lose the ability to think original thoughts, and you become a passive consumer of other people's ideas rather than a creator of your own destiny. This addiction doesn't just steal your time and creativity, it fundamentally alters your emotional health and psychological well-being. Human beings are deeply social creatures, wired over hundreds of thousands of years to seek community, belonging, and connection. However, the connection offered by smartphones and social media is a digital illusion that leaves us lonelier than ever before. We have traded deep, nuanced, face-to-face human interactions for curated profiles, shallow comments, and quantitative validation in the form of likes, views, and followers. This creates an environment of constant social comparison. When you scroll through your feed, you are comparing your messy, flawed, everyday reality with everyone else's highly curated, polished highlight reels. You see people vacationing in exotic places, celebrating career milestones, looking physically flawless, and appearing perfectly happy. Even if you rationally know that these images are filtered and manufactured, your subconscious mind does not care. It internalizes this information, leading to chronic feelings of inadequacy, low self-esteem, and anxiety. This constant comparison triggers a profound fear of missing out, keeping you perpetually anxious that everyone else is living a better, more exciting life than you are. This anxiety is further compounded by the nature of online information consumption. The algorithms that govern these platforms are optimized for one primary metric: engagement. The developers realized very early on that nothing drives human engagement quite like negative emotions, specifically outrage, fear, anger, and tribalism. Therefore, your feeds are naturally tilted towards sensationalized, divisive, and terrifying content because that is what keeps your eyes glued to the screen for the longest period of time. You end up doomscrolling, spending hours consuming apocalyptic news, bitter political debates, and societal tragedies, completely exhausting your nervous system and tricking your body into believing it is under constant, imminent threat. The physical consequences of this psychological siege are devastating, particularly when it comes to sleep. Sleep is the absolute foundation of physical health, cognitive function, and emotional resilience. Yet, millions of people spend the final hour of their night staring directly into a glowing screen just inches from their eyes. The blue light emitted by smartphone screens mimics the wavelength of morning sunlight, which completely disrupts your body's circadian rhythm. When this blue light hits your retinas, it signals to your brain's pineal gland that it is daytime, actively suppressing the production of melatonin, the hormone responsible for making you sleepy and facilitating deep, restorative sleep phases. Even if you manage to fall asleep after looking at your phone, the quality of your sleep is severely compromised. You spend less time in deep sleep and rapid eye movement sleep, which are crucial for memory consolidation, tissue repair, and emotional processing. You wake up feeling groggy, exhausted, and mentally foggy, relying on caffeine to get through the day, which only increases your anxiety and deepens your dependence on your phone for quick energy boosts. The tragic irony of phone addiction is that it promises to connect us to everything, but ultimately disconnects us from ourselves and our relationships. Look at any restaurant, coffee shop, or family dinner table today. You will see couples, families, and friends sitting together in physical proximity but completely isolated in their own private digital worlds, staring down at their screens instead of looking into each other's eyes. This phenomenon, known as phubbing or phone snubbing, erodes the fabric of intimacy and trust. True human connection requires presence, active listening, vulnerability, and the willingness to navigate uncomfortable silences together. When we choose our screens over the living, breathing human beings right in front of us, we communicate that whatever is happening on our phone is more important than they are. Over time, this breeds resentment, isolates us from our loved ones, and deprives us of the deep emotional safety net that only genuine, real-world relationships can provide. If you look closely at the trajectory of your life, you will see that your future is ultimately determined by the compounding effect of your daily habits. Success, fulfillment, financial independence, and mastery are not sudden events, they are the result of small, disciplined actions repeated consistently over years. Conversely, failure and mediocrity are also the result of small, undisciplined actions repeated consistently over time. Spending 3, 4, or 5 hours a day on your phone might not seem catastrophic in the moment, but when you look at the math, it is utterly terrifying. If you spend just 4 hours a day on your phone, that adds up to 28 hours a week, over 120 hours a month, and roughly 1,460 hours a year. That is the equivalent of 60 entire calendar days every year spent staring at a screen. Over the course of a decade, that is nearly 2 full years of your life gone, vanished into a digital void of mindless scrolling, video consumption, and superficial engagement. Imagine what you could accomplish if you reclaimed even half of that time. In 700 hours a year, you could build a highly profitable side business, learn a complex new language fluently, master a musical instrument from scratch, read 50 profound books, transform your physical fitness completely, or deepen your relationships to an extraordinary degree. Phone addiction is quite literally the theft of your life's potential, a tax you willingly pay to massive corporations who profit off your divided attention. They monetize your focus, turning your time into their ad revenue, while leaving you with a shorter attention span, higher anxiety, fractured relationships, and a profound sense of unfulfillment. It is a terrible trade, and it is happening to billions of people right now who are sleepwalking through their existence. Breaking free from this digital prison requires more than just standard willpower, because willpower is a finite resource that is easily depleted by the end of a long, stressful day. Your willpower is no match for thousands of the world's smartest software engineers working around the clock to keep you hooked. To truly reclaim your future, you must design a structured environment that makes overusing your phone difficult and friction-heavy, while making real-world, productive activities easy and frictionless. You must shift your mindset from being a passive victim of technology to becoming an intentional architect of your digital life. This transformation begins by establishing strict boundaries and creating sacred spaces where your phone is simply not permitted to enter. The first and most impactful change you can make is to banish your phone from your bedroom completely. Buy a cheap, old-fashioned analog alarm clock and place it on your nightstand, and charge your phone overnight in a completely different room, like the kitchen or the living room. By doing this, you eliminate the temptation to scroll before bed, allowing your body to produce melatonin naturally and giving you a much higher quality of deep sleep. More importantly, it completely revolutionizes your mornings. When you wake up, you are no longer greeted by a screen full of stress and distraction. You can spend the first 30 to 60 minutes of your day reading, meditating, journaling, exercising, or planning your day with complete clarity and peace of mind. This single habit change creates a powerful psychological buffer, ensuring that you enter the day as an actor rather than a reactor. The next step is to clean up your digital environment by taking control of your phone's interface. By default, your phone is designed to be a flashy, colorful, hyper-stimulating playground. Every red notification badge is an urgent psychological trigger commanding you to tap it. You can neutralize this effect by going into your settings and turning your entire phone screen to grayscale. When you strip away the vibrant, saturated colors and turn your screen into a dull, monochromatic palette of grays, blacks, and whites, the psychological allure drops dramatically. Social media feeds look boring, video thumbnails look unappealing, and your brain stops viewing the device as a source of high-intensity pleasure. It transforms your phone from a tempting slot machine into what it was originally meant to be: a boring, utilitarian tool, like a hammer or a calculator, that you use for a specific purpose and then put away. Furthermore, you need to go through your settings and ruthlessly turn off all non-human notifications. You do not need an app to ping you because someone posted a video, because a store is having a sale, or because an algorithm thinks you might like a piece of news. The only notifications that should ever be allowed to interrupt your life are direct, real-time communications from actual human beings, such as phone calls or direct text messages from family and close colleagues. Everything else should be muted, requiring you to manually open the app when you choose to do so, rather than letting the app choose when to drag you in. Take it a step further by deleting all highly addictive apps from your phone entirely, including social media platforms, entertainment apps, and mindless mobile games. If you want to check social media, force yourself to do it on a desktop or laptop computer. This introduces a heavy layer of friction, making it an intentional choice that requires you to sit down at a desk, rather than an impulsive reflex every time you have a spare 10 seconds in your day. To protect your deep work and productivity, you should implement the out-of-sight, out-of-mind rule during your working hours. When you need to focus on a task, do not just silence your phone and leave it on your desk. Put it in a drawer, place it in another room, or give it to a colleague. By removing it from your visual field, you eliminate the cognitive drain of actively resisting the urge to check it, immediately freeing up your mental bandwidth for deep, high-level focus. If you find yourself struggling with impulsive checking habits, use technology to fight technology. Install robust website blockers and application timers that lock you out of problematic apps after a certain amount of time, or use features that block your phone completely during specific windows of the day. However, changing your environment is only half the battle. You must also address the underlying psychological reasons why you reach for your phone in the first place. For many people, phone addiction is not just about dopamine, it is a maladaptive coping mechanism for emotional discomfort. We reach for our phones when we feel anxious about a difficult task, bored by our current reality, lonely in our lives, or overwhelmed by stress. The phone acts as a digital pacifier, a quick emotional escape hatch that lets us numb ourselves to whatever uncomfortable feeling we are experiencing. The next time you feel the urge to grab your phone, pause for just 10 seconds and practice self-awareness. Ask yourself what you are feeling in that exact moment. Are you avoiding a hard piece of work? Are you feeling lonely? Are you just bored? By naming the emotion, you bring it from your subconscious mind into your conscious awareness, breaking the automatic, reflexive nature of the habit. Sit with the discomfort for a few moments, take a deep breath, and realize that you do not need a screen to escape your feelings. Ultimately, you cannot just remove the phone from your life. You must replace it with something far more meaningful, fulfilling, and engaging. If you remove a 3-hour-a-day phone habit but replace it with sitting on the couch staring at the wall, you will inevitably relapse into the addiction. You need to rediscover high-quality leisure activities that engage your mind, your body, and your soul. Cultivate hobbies that require active participation and skill development, such as learning a physical sport, weightlifting, martial arts, playing an instrument, woodworking, painting, cooking, or reading dense, immersive literature. These activities provide a much deeper, more sustainable form of satisfaction because they challenge you, foster competence, and allow you to track your growth over time. They build true self-esteem and lasting fulfillment, unlike the cheap, fleeting validation of digital likes. Reclaiming your future from phone addiction is not about completely abandoning modern technology or living like a hermit in the woods. It is about establishing a healthy, conscious, and dominant relationship with your devices. It is about deciding that your real life, your actual relationships, and your biggest, boldest dreams are vastly more important than anything happening inside a digital mirror. It takes immense courage and discipline to reject the cultural norm of perpetual distraction and choose a path of deep focus, presence, and intentionality. But on the other side of that discipline is a life of extraordinary clarity, unparalleled productivity, deep peace of mind, and meaningful success. You have one life to live, and your time is the most precious, non-renewable resource you possess. Do not let it slip through your fingers, one mindless swipe at a time. Put down the phone, look up at the world around you, step into the present moment, and start building the future you were truly meant to create. In conclusion, phone addiction is a highly engineered trap that fragments your attention, harms your mental health, and steals the valuable time needed to build a successful life. By setting clear boundaries, removing digital distractions, and replacing mindless scrolling with meaningful, real-world pursuits, you can successfully retake control of your mind and secure your future potential. If you found this information valuable, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and let me know in the comments what topic you want to see next.